I've got a box of repaired active drivetrain mounts, all of which have had the replacement sensor installed. So come with me as I endeavour to complete my drivetrain mount journey with a PADM doubleheader. So welcome to Project 981 and welcome back to the channel. So this is my fourth and hopefully final video about PADM, Porsche's active drivetrain mounts. I've got one in my hand, it has the replacement sensor installed, and I'm going to try and future-proof the Boxster, the 981 Boxster GTS, by installing a pair, a brace, a set of these onto my car to future-proof it and hopefully bring an end to the error messages on my dashboard now and in the future. Now, if you've been following my journey, you'll know that we've got a mount repaired, as I said a moment ago, on the car. It's the left-hand side, so if you're standing at the back of the car on the left-hand side, it's the one that is easy to get to. So today's challenge for Charlie and the team will be to get the right-hand one off, which is masked by, covered by some other bits of kit hardware around the back of the gearbox and the engine. So it won't be quite as quick as last time, but in theory, completely straightforward. Both of the existing ones off, two new ones on. The working one probably then going on eBay, and the spare one is for Charlie. So that is the work in hand. But before we go, I'm going to do another quick check using my Think Diag dongle. Plenty of videos on those on the channel, on that and the tablet, just to see how the car is viewing all the DMEs, the control units, just to double check it hasn't spat out another error message. The dashboard, I should say, is clear, so I'm not expecting any problems, but we'll just benchmark that now, and then when the two new mounts have gone on, we'll do the same thing again just to see that we've got a clear set of codes, that the car is happy, not seeing any error messages. Fingers crossed. The dongle's plugged in, there it is. Let's now get the here we go, here's my tablet. Let's just dive straight into health report, shall we? Are you sure you with a quick test function? Yes, let's do that. There we go. And you can see it sort of runs through the various control units. Portrait, tablet, landscape, video. Beeps and gongs in the background. It goes through various things. I should say I've not had any error message on the dashboard for the mounts or anything else, to be honest, so I'm kind of more or less hoping for a clean bit of health, with the exception of the very odd front light error message, which is beyond me. But anyway, there we go. Abnormal, yes, there we go. Front end electronics, which is almost certainly the weird thing about the light. Read fault code. Let's just tap on that. Yeah, there we go. Front lid light faulty. And I have cleared that and it comes back, so there's definitely something going on there. But basically, excuse me, slightly sort of odd clamps between legs thing going on here. We are clear, so that's great. Airbags, engine, instrument cluster. Let's go down to the one we really want to see, which is not TPMS. PASM is related to it, that's clear. EPS, the power steering. Here we go. ESP, PSM, that's kind of the biggie. So they're all showing no problems. There we go, that's the full set. So we have got no problems with that sensor, which I put into the car a couple of weeks back. Brilliant. So we're starting with a clean sheet. We'll come out of there and finish that. Right, let's fire up the Boxster and get ourselves up to William Francis and get Charlie to do some spannering. Well, here we are. Charlie's just doing a few bits and pieces elsewhere, so it's a nice quiet moment to have a walk around the car. It's up on the ramp. As you can see, we've got the jack in place to support the gearbox, which is up in here somewhere. And yeah, just as I say, an opportunity to see what state the car's in. Again, I've already noticed that one of these wretched plugs in my life has come out, despite it's actually the other side from the one I repaired earlier in the autumn, but that's missing in action. I guess they just drop out with vibration. But otherwise, new discs from earlier in the year, they're looking all fine. A little bit of corrosion on the aluminium, but it's really nothing to be worried about. Drop links. Yeah. What's the front looking like? Actually not too bad. Not even a great deal of damage on here, which is surprising. I've scraunched on those a few times. I need to do my radiators and condensers at some point, but for the moment I'm kind of hanging off. Do keep an eye on them on the inside, cleaning them out. Coming down this side, what have we got in here? Everything's sort of, all the bits of plastic are kind of where they should be. Everything's roughly in order. Daylight through there. This side, happily, all the ones I did replace are all in place. They haven't fallen out, so that's good. Just looking, you can see under this, if I drop back down here, you can see this where the seat, the well for the seats sits around or fits around the plastic under tray. It's actually pretty much flat the whole way. And then we've obviously got a bit more breathing space at the back. So, engine. That's the, I should know what that is, but I don't. There's something in the sensor. Obviously then the gearbox in there. Yeah, how's this side looking? So our mount, starting on this side, let's just turn Charlie's light on. There we go, that helps. Right, what have we got in here? Yes. So you can see the mount up here. There's a few more bits of plumbing to kind of avoid, which is why this side's so much harder. But we're going to start on that side. And then the other one, which we did a few weeks ago, still happily, in here, happily working as we saw earlier with the diag report. So generally, all pretty good. And just quickly interrupting myself to say, if you've been finding this whole set of videos useful, do give me a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And actually, to be honest, if you know somebody else who's got a GTS or Cayman or a regular Boxster or anything out of the 981 stable that has the drivetrain mounts, then maybe share this video with them so they are forewarned and hopefully forearmed. Right, we are about to let the car down, but Charlie, thank you. We've had a good up. Well, I say we. I'm just stood here watching. Yeah. You've done the hard work.
I've got my hands dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But job done.
Yeah. They're a little bit fiddly doing both, especially on a manual car. I think I've only mostly done them on PDKs. This one we had a little bit of a jiggery pokery,
a slight sort of learning
without taking the oil, the water cooler off the back of the gearbox to save sort of losing a load of coolant and stuff. So it was a little bit trickier than the PDK cars, but we're done. New mounts are in, and well, we've already proven that these
exactly that. And
solution works.
I'm going to just run I'll just quickly plug in the thing diag. But this is something you're now happy to offer to other customers.
Definitely something we're going to be offering and recommending.
Yep.
Purely for the cost saving for our customers, and the fact that if it's an upgraded part that's going to actually last longer, it's win-win, because we have actually changed a number of mounts dating back to 21, 22 that have gone on and failed again.
Yes,
which is an eye-watering. One customer alone is, I think, on his fourth mount, and
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's nearly 4,000 quid, including our labour.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
You know, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't personally feel there's a lot wrong with the actual rubber mounting part of the system.
Well, I found that again. Sort of YouTube research is that actually, the mounts are fine. It's just a little sensor bit that pops.
Maybe if the mount's done 80 or 100,000 miles, you kind of, a bit like suspension, you'd kind of say, well, it's probably getting toward the end of its life because it's been working quite hard.
Yeah, exactly.
But some of the ones we've changed have been 20 or 30,000 miles, I think. Yeah. And like those mounts we've popped in for you now.
Yeah, exactly. So
both 2021.
They were 2021 ones, so quite a lot newer than my car. Exactly. So that plus the sensor feels like a good upgrade. Good upgrade.
Well, that's the other balance. Is a bit like tyres. You can have a tyre that's in brand new condition, but if it's 10 years old, it's past its best.
It doesn't matter how much tread it's got, it's going to be quite hard running.
No, so
brilliant.
Good upgrade.
Well, let's get this down, and I'll just run the quick test on it. Good, so the car's off the ramp. We're now going to run the Think Diag test again. There's the dongle plugged in. Here's the pad, the tablet. Let's run the health report. Let's just run that, see where we get to. It's a little bit DIY at this point, viewers, but what we're looking for is no fault codes. Lovely, keep going. So we basically want to just see the same error light error code, I should say, for the under the front lid. There we go. I don't quite know why these all seem to come up as different reports on the Think Diag dongle. Let's just run the report. Oh, I think because there's no Wi-Fi. Oddly enough, I think it's because there's no Wi-Fi. Now, because I like to do things properly and because I was a little bit confused by what was going on at William Francis with the Think Diag, I'm back at base. It is a couple of days later. We're going to rerun that Think Diag health report, and I'll kind of show you how it goes and see if we can recreate that final output, which demonstrates that everything's fine apart from the front boot lid error code. Okay, so let me grab the camera. So I haven't actually had to get the car out, merely to, well, I've unlocked it, I've opened the door, put the key in the ignition, that's in position 2, and then we can see down there the dongle in the OBD2 socket lit up blue because it's connected to Bluetooth. So let's just shut the door now, just so we don't get any codes on that. Come back to the screen. I've already logged in and it's paired up with the car. Let's run the health report again. Yes, please. So there we go, the familiar screen. And what we're hoping is lots of lovely no fault codes. You can see those coming up as we go. 43, 48, 52, working its way through as before. And just to recap, I'm hoping to recreate that error report which shows that all the elements, all the DMEs concerned with the mount, the PADM, are clear. Right, so there we go. So that's what we had last time. So we've got the single front end electronics query, which should be the front lid light. It is. So that's a really curious little thing which I've cleared and it keeps coming back. So let's go back out of that, back out of that. We'll now run the report, which simply generates a PDF, but it's in a similar format to the one we had before for that final comparison. And there we have it, some key details at the top, which frankly are not so relevant to this, but what's going on below that? Well, we have now got a clean sheet. All the different, I'm calling them DMEs, all the different systems are clear. There's a bit of a formatting gap there, but fundamentally it's just that front lid light that's now showing as wrong. And if you didn't know what that code is, there it is in detail. Do jump in the comments and let me know. So essentially that is now two updated mounts, so 2021 mounts on the car with the replacement sensors. The car is seeing the sensors, it's therefore seeing the mounts. Everything is as expected and we are nicely future-proofed. So I thought it worth dropping in at this point an earlier Think Diag report from my car which shows the pressure sensor error message, the error code in all its glory, and that's what we're hoping won't reappear, and lo and behold it hasn't done. So ignore the rest of those codes, they've pretty much all disappeared with a reset, apart from the lid light one which remains very confusing. But the key thing here is no more pressure sensor error code. Now there's one final thing I get to do because I'm shooting this several days later and because the continuity is all over the shop. Anyway, here we go, is to briefly explain why these still work even though we apparently break, clip, remove some key components in here. Many of you have asked, I have the same question in my mind. When I take the lid off that, we take the PCB out and we clip those 3 pins, does that not stop the coil from then firming up and softening based on the control circuit for that? The short answer is, and I should say there's going to be a long answer, a separate video with me doing some diagrams which I've had confirmed by PopoRacing. The short answer is that the mechanism for sending the signal to firm up or soften the mount, the mechanism for that is separate from the sensor mechanism. They are two discrete circuits. When we change the sensor, we effectively work on the sensor pressure circuit. We don't touch the coil circuit, even though both pass through here. And that, in short, is the reason why there's a second plug on the replacement sensor. It's doing the job of connecting both the coil circuit and the sensor circuit back into the car. I'll explain in more detail in a separate video, but suffice to say, clipping those 3 little bits of plastic in there does not stop the mount from firming up and softening in response to the separate pressure signal. Oh, and in case you're wondering, yes, this is the original mount that still works, which Charlie took off the car, which was on this side. And let me just grab the camera if you're looking for continuity, so I can demonstrate to you that it is one and the same with that conveniently little green dot. There it is. We can see it is a part dated to more or less the same week my car was built at Zuffenhausen, 14th July 2015, serial number there. So that is now surplus to requirements, and I'll be popping that on eBay. So there we go, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the double header complete. 2 replacement PADM mounts back on the car with the replacement sensors, so the OEM parts replacement sensors back on the car, and the original working one still taken off that was on the right hand side. And we did learn what everyone else kind of knows, which is the right hand side, the offside mounts are much harder to get out because of the extra coolant, plumbing and bits and pieces that go on that side of the car. Anyway, Charlie's persevered, we've got them out. The 2 pair, my set back on the car, very happy with that. I should just say the car behind me, hang on, where is it? There, that one, is a very nice GTS, nice low mileage, Alcantara deletion side, leather looks superb, nothing to do with me, but just happens to be here. That kind of feels like time to bring this video and my little series of videos to a conclusion, so my thanks to Charlie and Sam, the team at William Francis, for all their help. I hope you've enjoyed this set of videos, giving you a flavour of, let's just take that car, it's nice, isn't it? Just giving you a flavour of what's involved, what the options are, and to know now that if your error message comes up on the dashboard, it's fine. There are solutions. So with that all said, thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you for the next one.